Question for Chris. I was very taken with your London example and the way in which the context made you change the vertical extrusion of the building into different broken down floor plates. I was also, of course, taken with the AMP example this morning. So are we seeing a kind of shift towards the rotation of more complex floor plates? And what is the economics of that? Is that something that can be replicable? Is this just something for really elite, kind of A-grade towers in global cities, or is this something that would stack up, if you pardon the pun, stack up economically in other types of building?
Well, it's an interesting question. I believe that everything in life changes, and towers are part of that. They started off as simple vertical extrusions, but with the benefit of technology, you don't have to have one floor stacked on the other. As 3X Nielsen explained this morning, you get some beautiful spaces if you overlap them and open them up. And it also gives you the opportunity, such as in our Crown Sydney project, to create sculptural forms. So what I was interested in doing was trying to create an inhabited sculpture, really, an inhabited artwork. And of course, there are complications, and it's more expensive and so on. But I think it goes back to the point that if you have the competition system, you're looking for something different, something special, something that works, and maybe something that isn't in any other city of the world, you know, something new. So the competition system encourages that, and the way we deal with technology now is that we can build almost anything. It's just a matter of how much you want it, you know. So I think it's here to stay. I think, you know, buildings are getting more interesting and more exciting all the time.
Most of the developers I've talked to about the City of Sydney competitions actually don't complain about it. It's kind of funny. You always think that they might, you know, but they don't. And they all, and I know quite a lot of them, and they've all said they think the result at the end of it was better because of the knowledge that you know, and it's a very knowledgeable and empowered council, lots of resources, good planning department, architects and stuff, that they brought to the table, particularly around integrating essentially the building with the environment. And it is partly the public realm stuff, but the connectivity with the rest of the city, yes, I think is helped by a strong local authority involvement. That's, you know, that they know what they're doing. They don't all know what they're doing, but they definitely do in the city.
But I also think there's, you know, a commercial imperative that, in fact, the competitions actually really do deliver value uplift for the proponent, and so you'd be mad not to do it because they get a commercial edge which they wouldn't have otherwise, and I think they know that.
The competition system is very intriguing. What I'm interested in is, given the amount of energy that's typically required by the architects to put one of these things together in a very short period of time, what is the compensation, or are there guidelines that help deal with that issue where architects are compensated for the value that they're providing? That is,
yeah, the devil in the detail. Architects are all compensated for the work that they do, but I don't know whether you are an architect. Are you an architect? Yes. So you would know that most architectural firms will put in much more time and effort than they actually get paid for. And I think this is endemic in all competitions, notwithstanding that I think they are actually, and there are quite, in the City of Sydney design competitions, there are very clear deliverables and program to ensure people don't go over the top, but they still do. So, yeah, I think there needs to be more work on that, because the uplift that the developer gets is disproportionate to the amount that I think the architects get paid for the work that they do. But, I mean, there are fairly significant fees involved.
From my point of view, I like to think of it as a game, because it's too painful if you just work out the facts and figures and the amount of time you spend, the amount of energy, the amount it costs you. But if it's a game, you're competing. It's like sport, really. You're competing, and it pushes you to your limits, really. But that's good, I think. There's nothing wrong in that. And as long as you win now and then, it's fine. Yeah, but it's difficult.
But I do think it does favour large firms who've got more fat and they can absorb the costs, where it really works against smaller firms. So I think the great thing about the City of Design competitions, City of Sydney design competitions, is where they've coupled up new and emerging firms with larger firms which have more machine behind them. You still enable that innovation and new voices on the block, so to speak, without the commercial risk that comes with it for the smaller firms. So I do think that a lot of the risks are mitigated and exposure.
I agree with that.
I also think it creates public interest, in the... otherwise, people find it a mysterious process, but essentially I think part of the benefit of the competition process, people in the City of Sydney know a lot more about these developments.
Well, I do think, one thing, I have to give a little plug for CTBUH. I'm on the local committee here, and what we have done as part of our public engagement series is to actually show all the non-winning competition schemes, because you always see the one which is the winner, and that's the one which is promoted, and it's in the interest of the developer to promote the winning scheme and the city to promote that. But everyone wants to know, well, who else and what else was there? And it's great to actually have an open public debate about what the options were, and it's always good to see that. So I think that's been a really great initiative of the committee.